Macrobiotic study in 1965 in Boston. I was visiting some friends in the Boston area, and they introduced me to Micho. And Micho and I spent 3 hours together, and in that 3 hours he basically introduced me to the principles of macrobiotics. It was amazing. I couldn't stay. I was from Philadelphia. I was just traveling, and I had to go back to Philadelphia. He wanted me to stay and study with him, but I couldn't do that. I had to go back. I was a student at the Pennsylvania Academy of the Fine Arts at the time. I wanted to finish my studies, and he said, "Well, that's all right. You do that, but here's my phone number and address, and let's keep in touch." So for the next 5 years we did, and through the phone and through the mail I studied with him. And then gradually I began to set up a small center in Philadelphia with a few friends who could come to my house, and I would cook dinner and I would teach them what I had learned. And gradually we formed a small macrobiotic study group. In 1970 I graduated from the academy and decided to take Micho's advice and go to Boston to continue a deeper study. One of my students at the time was Denny Waxman, and he more or less picked up after I left and developed a great macrobiotic center there in the Philadelphia area. Macrobiotics changed my life. I went through a series of serious accidents, and macrobiotics helped me heal those accidents. And all my learning problems that I had when I was in school were completely solved by my study. I was able to begin to coordinate all of my interests in art and philosophy and life. And ultimately macrobiotics became a part of my artwork. And I discovered that cooking was a great art, was probably, as Micho used to say in his lectures, the greatest art of all. All arts derive from that. So it's been a great adventure now, almost 45 years since I began my study, and now I'm working primarily with poetry, painting, and music, and using those mediums as a teaching tool for people who want to study with me.
Well, how have you kind of shared macrobiotics with other people? In which ways have you shared macrobiotics with other people?
Oh, well, I taught, traveled around the country, for the Kushi Institute, teaching, doing seminars, teaching shiatsu and philosophy. At one point, we had a cancer diet program in Boston, and people would come to see Micho for consultations, but sometimes the people were too sick to come, so Micho arranged to have cooks sent to those people. So I traveled all around the United States cooking for people and doing shiatsu and applying the principles of the healing to them. And then I would travel back to Boston and then go out again on assignment. Did that for 2 or 3 years. And then when the Kushi Institute was established in Brookline, I taught there for 4 years as shiatsu, palm healing. And then in 1986, the actor Terence Hill and his wife, film producer Laurie Hill, owned a railroad station in Stockbridge, Massachusetts, and they donated that restaurant for use as a restaurant. And we set up a macrobiotic. They set up a macrobiotic restaurant there with a sushi bar. And in 1986, I was asked to manage that, and we managed that restaurant until 1993. And from there, I more or less, after the restaurant closed, we were way ahead of our time with the restaurant. Sushi wasn't very popular here, and we had trouble keeping the restaurant open in the wintertime because the local people wouldn't come for that kind of food. In the summertime we had tourists coming because Stockbridge is a popular place for tourism. The Norman Rockwell Museum is there, and Tanglewood, which is a mecca for classical music, and many artists and writers come there. But in the wintertime we had to depend on like skiers and people interested in fitness and health. But we had several seasons where there wasn't enough snow. The ski lodges closed down, and we just couldn't make enough profit, and there wasn't enough way to keep the restaurant open. So we closed the restaurant, and I moved on. Now in this area, everybody can find sushi just about anywhere. It's become very popular. So unfortunately for us, we were just a little bit too far ahead of ourselves. But it was a great experience, and I worked with some tremendous Japanese cooks. In fact, one of the cooks is here with us today, Hideki. He was one of our sushi chefs and one of our kitchen chefs. And now I'm retired, and I'm devoting my energy to creating books on poetry and painting, and people who are interested in art can find a way to like combine macrobiotics with art, which is a great medium for teaching macrobiotics. And that's pretty much where things are right now. I'm hoping that I'll be able to make contact with artists in different countries and help them to understand that macrobiotics is a great tool for them in their creative work, and a great way to mediate the basic important issues of our time through food, through practice of macrobiotics, and through artistic pursuits and endeavors. Making films, art exhibitions, all those things can be used as great mediums. And macrobiotics is a great story to tell. I mean, I've been macrobiotic for 45 years now, and Micho came to this country in 1949. So there's a long history of macrobiotics here in the United States that I would like to see put into some medium that could be shared with people in other countries. And that's a goal that we sincerely hope that we can accomplish before I pass on. I devoted the rest of my life to this project.
Okay. What advice would you give to new people starting?
That's a good question. What can I say? Like I can only speak from my own experience. When I was new, I was open at the time for macrobiotics. I was having a lot of I was struggling with my artwork, and I was struggling with my physical condition, and I was struggling with mental and spiritual issues, and macrobiotics helped me to solve those problems. And so just practice makes perfect. It's the only way I can explain it is to just do it diligently. At first, it's like any new discipline. It's difficult. You make a lot of changes, and you find that by practicing macrobiotics, you're more or less placed in a situation where you need to make those changes in order to fulfill your life, to live a full life. That's the thing about macro means great life, big life. If you want a big life, then you practice macrobiotics. And now it's the point where I just go by intuition. My intuition it's possible for me to just go with my intuition by using the macrobiotic principle. The issues of social, cultural, ideological, philosophical, all those things can be combined. And it's an adventure. You have to. You more or less have to have the drive for it to be an adventurer. It's the greatest adventure there is. Unbelievably so. It changes your life in every dimension, from the spiritual to the physical.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.